going to go through problem 4.4a. If you want to print yours off or look at other problems, or I'll read your book, if you go to the library, you can see the ebooks. I generally, this is your Learn Smart, that's the same as your textbook online. This is just the book itself, so I usually go to that one. Then what happens is it basically looks, I'm waiting for it here. Okay, it looks like this. If you go to this little thing there, you can get the chapters off to the side. You can click on chapter 4, scroll down, and you can see there's brief exercises, all the places in the chapter, so you can print out some additional homework. Demonstration problems are good, so I'm going to go to problem set A, and I'm going to go to problem 4. Okay. So problem 4, I didn't copy this. The campus theater adjusts its current amounts every month. That's pretty important that we know that we're adjusting monthly. The company's unadjusted trial balance on August 31st. So the August 31st is the last time we made July 31st is the last time we made adjustments, because this is an unadjusted trial balance. Additional information is given for August. Bear in mind, adjusting entries have been made for the first 7 months of the current year, but not for August. So in other words, we've made them every month, January through July, and we haven't yet made them for August, and so that's the purpose of this. So make sure you get your mind wrapped around this. I had to cut and paste some of these to fit it on the screen, but hopefully you'll print this out from your textbook, or I'll at least put this one online. But anyway, so the first thing is we need film rental expense for the month is $18,240. However, film rental expense for several months has been paid in advance. So if you, let me pause this one second. You have all sorts of things I need to move off to the side. If you look at this, every adjusting entry will either have a revenue or expense account. So the question that I need to ask myself, is this a revenue or expense? So film rental expense, we are a campus theater. So this is an expense, so I need to go ahead and debit my expense. And then I need to ask myself, was the expense already paid for, or have I not yet paid it? And it says film rental expense for several months had been paid in advance. Okay, and so I know that I'm going to debit the expense and credit the prepaid. So I want to look at this thing here, and I can see I have prepaid film rental of $37,440. It's a debit, so these are debit columns. This is the credit column. And I always want to expense the portion that's used up. So this says I've got $18,240 used up. So again, it's an expense, so I debit my expense. I've already paid for it, so I debit prepaid. So I would encourage you to get, your steps would be get your revenue expense first, then figure out if the cash had already come. So the other side will be an unearned or prepaid. There are a couple of exceptions to that. If it's not yet paid or received, it'll be a receivable or payable. So this is an expense, so I debit my expense. I know it's already paid, tells me here, and so I credit prepaid. Now I have to ask myself how much. I want to know how much is used up. This is how much is still prepaid, but this one says $18,240 is used up, so I want to put the $18,240 in there. Notice $37,440 minus the $18,240 is the amount that is still left to be used. Okay, the building is being depreciated over 20 years, so whenever I have a building or any sort of fixed asset that lasts longer than a year, I do what's called depreciate it. So depreciation is an expense, so I'm down here. Have I already paid for that building or not yet paid for it? I've already paid for it. So my debit is going to, you're going to say it's a prepaid, but I don't ever debit prepaid building, etc. The term for it is accumulated depreciation. So whenever you have depreciation, your entry is debit depreciation expense, credit accumulated depreciation. So make sure you get those two, that terminology together. Debit depreciation expense, credit accumulated depreciation. So notice I say prepaid asset maybe another type of asset or prepaid like supplies or accumulated depreciation. So now my question is how much? So I look in the building account and I have 201,600. So let me see if I can get. And it says it's being depreciated over 20 years, so I divide it by 20, and then I need to also, so that's 10,800 a year, but I'm doing it monthly, so I'm going to divide it by 12, and so I have 840. So I'm going to debit depreciation expense, credit accumulated depreciation for 840. Furniture and fixtures are being depreciated over a period of 5 years. So again, it's depreciation, so I'm going to debit depreciation expense, a credit accumulated depreciation. Accumulated depreciation, by the way, is a contra asset. It will, this year I'll put 840 in it, and accumulated depreciation has 840 in it. The next year I'll put 840 in depreciation, but add another 840. So if I look at this building, it's got 16,800 in accumulated depreciation. And I know I'm doing it at 840 years, so I can tell that I've got 20 years that have gone on this building. Hold on. Plus 16,800 divided by 840. I should say 20 months, not 20 years. Okay, so the building is 20 months old currently. Okay, but now I want to do my furniture and fixtures, so I can go up here. My furniture and fixtures has 43,200 in it, and I'm dividing them over 5 years or 60 months. So I'll just go ahead and divide it by 60 months to get the depreciation per month. I have 720, so I have depreciation expense and accumulated depreciation for 720. I can see how many months old the building, the furniture and fixtures are, because I've got 14,400 in it, and I'm depreciating at $720 a month, so they are also 20 months old. They don't have to be the same months old. It looks like I must have started my business and put them into service on the same date, but certainly don't have to buy everything on the same date. Next one. On the first of each month, the theater pays interest that accrued in the prior month, so that's important, on its notes payable. On August 31st, accrued interest payable on this amount notes to $1,800. So I asked myself, is this interest or revenue or expense to me? I am borrowing the money, so it's an expense, so I'm going to go over here and debit interest expense. Don't worry about the credit yet. Now I ask myself, as of month end, have I paid it or not yet paid it? And it says on the first of the month they pay it that accrues in the prior month. So I need to accrue it on August 31st that will be paid on September 1st. So as of August 31st, it's still payable, and it tells me the amount's $1,800. So first of all, get your expense or revenue. This is an expense. As of August 31st, I haven't yet paid it, so the other side is a payable. And it tells, then the third thing I do is get the entry. Number 5, the theater allows the local YMCA to bring children attending summer camp to movies on any weekday afternoons for a fixed fee of $600 per month. On June 28th, the YMCA made an $1,800 advance payment covering the months of July, August, and September. Okay, so remember this is August 31st, and we are only adjusting for August. So on July 1st, we paid $1,800. So at the end of July, I moved $600 out of there. So if I look at this, I should see $1,200 in it. So okay, so there it is. So my unearned admissions revenue is $1,200 from the YMCA. Notice this is a liability because we owe them $600 of admissions per month. So I need to make the adjusting entry for August only. Okay, so this is the more important part, but some of the problems will say, okay, well, it should make sense, but that after I do August, there better be $600 $600 left because I'll only have September left. Okay, so now I have to ask myself, is this a revenue or expense? We are the theater. The YMCA is paying us, so this is a revenue. So I'm going to credit admissions revenue. Okay, now have I already got the money or have I not yet got it? They paid me July 1st, so I've already got it. So my debit's going to be an unearned. So I'm going to debit unearned admissions revenue, and it's $600 per month since I'm making adjustments monthly. So now if you see this is a credit of $1,200. I've just debited it for $600, so I have $600 left in it. Next one. The theater receives a percentage of the revenue earned by Tasty Corporation, the concessionaire. So right now it says earns a percentage of the revenue. So right now I can stop and do concessions revenue because it's a revenue, not an expense. Tasty owes Campus Theaters $2,700 payable on September 10th. Remember, this is August 31st. And so I need to ask myself, I've already got my revenue there. Have I already received the money or not yet received the money? I have not yet received it because it's not going to come until September 10th. So I'm going to have concessions receivable as my debit. The next question is how much? It tells me $2,700, so I record $2,700. Okay, next one. Salaries earned by employees but not yet paid. These are salaries, our salaries. So to the company, to the theater, it's an expense. So I'm going to debit salaries expense. And it says but not yet recorded or paid. So my other side of it is a payable. So I have salaries payable. Now I need to ask myself how much, and it tells me $2,040. Number 8, income tax expense for August is estimated to be $5,040. The amount will be paid in the September 15th installment payment. So income tax is that a revenue or expense? It's an expense. And I ask myself, have I already paid it or not yet paid it? I won't pay it until September 15th, so it's a payable. So debit income tax expense, credit income tax payable. Next I see if I have to compute the amount. That's $5,040. It's given to me. So record this. Utilities expense is recorded as monthly bills are received. No adjusting entries for utilities are made at month end. So that's really worded strangely. We generally debit utilities expense and credit utilities payable, but it just says that I don't do that, so I'm not going to make my adjusting entry. Okay, so those are done. Then what I would do is I would actually adjust these numbers for these. So film rental expense, I debited for $18,240, so I'm going to add $18,240 to that number. And prepaid film rental is credited, so I'm going to credit prepaid film rental. So I'm going to take $18,240 out of that. I need to make an adjusted trial balance. I would simply change these numbers for these entries. So I would, again, add $18,240 to film rental expense. So notice this is a debit, so I'd add an $18,240 to it because this is a debit. I would credit prepaid film rental for $18,240, so I would subtract it from that, so the balance in that, etc. I'd go along that. Okay, so that's really adjusting entries, so I hope that helps.